Welcome back. Chapter 4. Daniel. It was him, the guy from the bar. But this time he wore only a little skirt thing around his waist that barely covered anything, and a couple of arm bracers. I forgot about Ashley. I stared. He had a couple of tattoos, a wolf just below his right collarbone, and some type of tribal design on his left arm. I forgot about Xander. The dancer wasn't overly muscled, like David and Derek, or had how Dad used to be. He was normal muscled. Is that a thing? Tight muscles on a tight body and lightly oiled. I needed to stop staring. No, I didn't. For once, I could be me. Only this morning I had been in Nevada. Now I'm in Hawaii, staring at an almost god. Like a few other people, I got my phone out and took videos of the event, or more specifically, of him. He had a long scar on the inside of his left leg, around his knee. It didn't seem to affect his dancing, or hula, or whatever you called it. Sometimes, when he had to perform some maneuver, he leaned on his right leg, as if easing the pressure on his left leg. There must be a story to that. Another question, though? Why did one glimpse of this almost naked dancer excite me more than Ashley had ever done? Simple answer: I like men that look like him. I didn't care so much about the hula girls. I mean, they were good. But when the guys started performing, I paid attention. When that guy from the bar was on stage, I really paid attention. Part of me stood at attention. The sun lingered on the horizon in a display of a glorious red and gold, changing the water to a glimmering crimson. The sunsets of Hawaii make my heart stop. That guy makes my heart stop. Ilya. The audience politely clapped. The drums sounded, and a soft melody played. The hula dancers came out on the stage and began the dance. The show continued, alternating between men and women performing different parts, and lasted an hour. At the end, the hula girls took Daniel and the men took Ashley to involve them in the dance. Daniel and Ashley were having fun. That was what was important. Lynette would be happy. Everything had gone well. Then it was my turn. Fire dancing. The drums roared, all the dancers chanted, and I lit the baton. This is what life is about, tossing and twirling flaming batons. Me and my partner have trained in all the basics, but the more advanced jumps and acrobatics were left to me. Laptop guy stood in the back, phone out recording. And then, all too soon, it was over. The sun had set, the luau was done. A couple of girls brought out a small cake covered in fresh flowers and set it before Daniel and Ashley. For Daniel and Ashley, may their love be eternal, I said. Back on the stage, the doves were released and flew into the sky. Ashley giggled. Oh, we're not them. You're not? The script had their names on it. It was for tonight's luau, with special ones. I had checked it right before the show. Some nice gentleman told us to take his place, and here we are. It was a marvelous show. A gesture like that should be honored. Do you see him here? Ashley looked about the gathering and pointed at the back. He's back there. She pointed at Laptop Guy. I took the mic back to his table, and he turned red. He didn't stare at my face, but at my crotch. He had to drag his eyes away, up my chest, and finally to my face. Such an act of generosity must be appreciated. Who would you be? Up close, he was even cuter. Brown hair, a dimple in his left cheek. He hadn't changed clothes. Most people here wore some touristy floral shirt, but not him. A white button-down with long sleeves, wrinkled a lot from sitting too long. Daniel. More light applause. Daniel Roberson? That was a very nice gesture, and where is the lovely Ashley? He mumbled something and looked away. I'm sorry, I said. Is she somewhere? Ashley? It's just me. Ashley had an affair, and we never got married. There was no applause this time. I think I had made a serious error here. His note had said that my day was worse than his. Now I think it might be the other way around. From one stranger to another, I said quietly and away from the mic. Hang in there. Daniel's head whipped up. I retreated to the stage, and we did a final number which had the audience politely clapping. When I looked again, Daniel was gone. I can't say I blame him. Sunday, June 22nd. Daniel. Last night's luau had been a horror show. I sat and watched as everything Ashley and I had planned happened to another couple. Our show, after which we would retire to the honeymoon suite for the night, where I would pretend to have straight sex. Could I even do that much? Instead, it was a constant reminder of my failures. There was one bright side, at least until the end. The guy from the bar was there, wearing almost nothing. That was enough to distract me, especially at the end, until he asked about Ashley. I snuck away after that. My hotel room was finally ready, and I discovered why it had taken so long. The couple who had used the room last night had gone crazy with the lotion and the sex games. It took the staff an extra 8 hours to clean it up. One nice thing, all the bedding was freshly laundered, even though everything else smelled like hand lotion, except the pillows. They smelled like cigarettes. I tossed them into the bathroom and lay on the mattress, fully clothed. Jet lag, a super long day, betrayed by my fiancé and best friend, 1,000 phone calls should have been enough to knock me out. Instead, I stared at the ceiling, reliving every moment. It was not a restful sleep. Sometime a few hours later, I went out to the beach. The pre-dawn sky had a few clouds in it. Most of the guests were asleep. The outdoor bars were closed. It was just me and a gray ocean that stretched to the horizon. A couple of surfers were out there, catching a few waves. I didn't know if this was a good surf or not. I took off my shoes and walked in the sand, just on the edge of the water. The sand mushed between my toes. The water was cool, not cold, and the sand had a hint of yesterday's heat in it. First, a light jog. I usually ran 2 miles each morning, even on the very rare days it rained in the butte. A mile out, a mile back, there was a nice place that was partially shaded by palm trees with a nice view of the ocean. Here was as good a place as any to practice. I walked up the beach, dropped my shirt and shoes, and began my yoga routine. I couldn't get the usual stretch. My feet didn't grip the sand as it did on my yoga mat, but it was fun. Yoga in Hawaii, on a beach, on one of the most glorious mornings I had ever seen. Maybe life could be good. I breathed in as deep as I could. The air made it all worthwhile. Salty, a slight fragrance of something floral, the slight tingle of ozone. If they could bottle the air and sell it, they would make a fortune. Again, I wished for someone to share it with. A few joggers ran past me, one nodding hello. Another person set up a yoga mat and stretched. Another surfer came out, carrying a wooden board and the black box. It was him, the fire dancer. He stripped down to red board shorts and set his board in the water, careful of the box. I knew then what he was going to do. Dad had done the same thing with Mom's ashes 10 years ago, except he had gone into the desert. We had gone with him, watched him say a little prayer, and poured the ashes onto the sand. My final memory of my mother, and it overshadowed all the other memories. I stopped posing, watched him lay on the board and kick out to 100 feet from shore. He opened the box, undid the tie on the bag inside, then said something. I knew that part too. He was saying goodbye. The clouds turned silver and gray with the dawn. I remembered my final goodbye, staring back at the pile of ashes as Derek took my hand and led me away. I remembered David's tears and the hollow look on Dad's face. Afterward, we went to the diner and ordered lunch. I never ate. Neither did David. Nothing could stop Derek's appetite. He ate his, and ours as well. The surfer poured the ashes into the ocean, slowly, one small bit at a time. Dad had made a small pile of them, one smooth pour. He sat out there on the board, staring at the sunrise. I don't know how long he was out there, but he eventually... Ilya. It felt like Timmy had died a third time, and it didn't get any easier. I watched the ashes spread out on the waves until the water had dissipated them, and then I simply stayed. Heading back to shore seemed like I was forgetting Timmy. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to remember every moment, from when I first saw him until I held him the last time. I rubbed my thumb along the scratch from last summer. That was all that was left. That, and a lot of pictures. Work still waited. I had to return. Paddling back to shore, I saw Daniel from last night on the beach, watching me. Something sad about that look. He stood up and began practicing yoga. Not the simple stuff, but the more advanced moves. Or if he did one of the simple moves, he pushed it as far as he could go. And he was still wearing yesterday's shorts. Yesterday's shirt was on the ground nearby. Rich people usually bring gads of clothes, even for a week's stay. Daniel didn't have the usual dad bod you see on the beach, but leaner, wiry, well-defined. I rode up to the beach, climbed off the board, and grabbed my shirt. Daniel was just getting up from some sort of elbow pose with his legs over his head, and was starting some kind of standing twisting pose. "Hey," I said. Daniel sort of unwound himself and wiped the sweat off his face with the back of his hand. "Hey." He's short. Maybe 6 inches shorter than me. "I'm sorry about last night. I was reading off the script. I didn't know your story." I don't blame you. Yesterday happened too fast. So that was your bad day? Daniel nodded. And this was yours? I picked up Timmy's ashes yesterday. Was going to give them to the sea last night. But you had some spoiled rich guy's luau. Daniel reached up to brush the sand from his hair, his skin stretched over tight ribs and an even tighter stomach. You heard that? Oops. Daniel smiled. I'm not spoiled or rich, just a boring accountant. It took 6 months to afford this place. You have a better salary than me, I said. I'm Ilya. Ilya? Hawaiian? Half Hawaiian. My mom lives here in Honolulu. My dad left for San Francisco years ago. My full name is Ilya Smith. Ilya is Hawaiian for wolf, because I was born on the wolf moon. Ilya? Not quite. You have to pronounce each vowel. Most people just call me Ilya, except my boss. She calls me Illy. Daniel paused and looked at his sand-covered feet a moment. It's not a pick-up line or anything, but what if we met for lunch, and you told me about Timmy? He's asking me out, but trying not to? I wonder. You're inviting me to lunch? You and Barney are the only people I know in this whole state. Maybe even this hemisphere, so why not? Not hitting, just lonely. Okay, 11 at the Sand Crab. Daniel. I was definitely underdressed for this place. You could have traded everything I own, including my car, for what these people wore every day. Designer, custom, everything. Nobody but me wore Walmart. And it was day-old Walmart at that. I called the airlines to find out about my suitcase. The good news? They had intercepted it at Chicago O'Hare. The bad news? It was still waiting in Chicago. I wandered the gift shop, looking for anything that wasn't some overpriced tourist fashion. If I wanted god-awful floral print shirts and weird designer board shorts, it was the place to shop. If I wanted to lose both my money and my dignity. Instead, I went to the overly overpriced outdoor bar, Sand Crab, and ordered a coffee. Black, no creamer. I wasn't sure I could afford it. Opening up my laptop, I logged into the local Wi-Fi, then into the accounting firm back in the Butte. Dead Man's Butte is really a nice place, if you like desert. Located a little more than an hour north of Vegas, it was a nice place to settle down and retire, or raise a family. An old mining town, it somehow survived when other towns became ghost towns. My boss instant messaged me a half an hour later, wondering why I was working on my honeymoon. Edwin is my boss, 15 years older, always too serious, and confined to a wheelchair. I told him the basics. His reply, that sucks. We were both working on a Sunday, and me on my honeymoon. Neither one of us had a life, I guess. I agreed with him, but I didn't tell him that I was beginning to think it was for the better. Let Xander and Ashley have each other. Alone in Paradise wasn't too bad, comparatively speaking. I mean, it hurt, but I'm glad I'm not trapped in their lives, just my own. If I had told Ashley about me, things would have been very different, and Xander, and my brothers. Okay, so maybe I'm a coward, but how can I compete with Mr. Football and Mr. Baseball? I never told them because I was already the runt of the family. I didn't want them calling me gay boy or some other endearing term. A pop-up said I had one new email. Xander. Should I delete it? No, this time I read it. I know you hate me, but I'm really sorry. Call me. Let me apologize, please. Taking a deep breath, I stared at my phone. What if I told Xander the truth? He needed to apologize to me, but maybe I needed to explain some things first. I closed down the account I was working on, typed out a quick script of what to say, and almost dialed. My heart beat too fast. I remembered sitting on the couch yesterday, going dizzy, feeling sick inside. I read the script again, and I dialed. It rang. It rang again. And again. Xander picked up. I didn't think you'd call. He'd been crying. Hi. I blew a breath out. Silence. I started. I needed to explain something. Don't interrupt or hang up until I'm done. This was more difficult than going to the dentist and having a root canal. Okay, he gulped. Yesterday was my fault. No, it wasn't. If I hadn't... Don't interrupt, please. This is hard enough. Silence again. I guess that's my cue. Read the script. Yesterday was my fault. If I had been truthful from the start, this would never have happened. What do you mean? You don't love Ashley? It has nothing to do with that. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. Not really. You're not making sense, Xander said. I should have told you a long time ago that I'm... Why was the last word so hard to get out? I already know you hate me after yesterday, and I just wanted to say I'm sorry. Would you just listen? I said I'm gay. More silence. Back to the script. I thought that by dating Ashley I could be straight, like you, like my brothers. I could be the person everyone thought I was. My turn to have a quivering voice. It didn't work out. If I had told you the truth, told Ashley, we could have avoided this mess. Xander still didn't speak. Yes, I hated you. Yes, I hated Ashley, but I hate myself most of all. You two got stuck because I've been lying for years, and I'm the one who needs to apologize. End of script. Some kind of muffled sob came through the phone. This was more difficult than I had ever imagined. Ashley's here. My turn for silence. Daniel? Ashley said. I couldn't say anything. Instead, I sort of swirled the cursor around on the screen. Daniel, Xander said. Are you okay? No, I'm most certainly not. I should never have called, should never have come out, should never have gotten engaged, should never have existed. Daniel? Ashley said again, her voice louder and shrill. Barney set another cup of coffee in front of me and walked back to the bar. Of course he heard everything. No one else was here, so my little voice carried from here to the bar. You would have spoiled my life, Ashley said, and started screaming. What were you thinking? We'd go through a divorce in 5 years, and then what? Did you think of that? Of how I would feel? You are so selfish. I know, and I'm sorry, I said. Good luck on making it work. I'm a coward. I hung up. They couldn't call me back. I had already blocked them. Xander tried emailing me again. I ignored that. In my mood, I even wondered if you could block email. I turned my chair and faced the ocean. There must have been thousands of people out there now, all scurrying around, throwing frisbees or splashing in the waves. Lifeguards had posted a couple of signs that said, Danger, riptides, in a couple places. Whatever those are. Maybe my life was a riptide. Every choice I had made had been a way to appear normal or straight, even becoming an accountant. I hated that too, but here I was. Maybe Dad was right, again. He usually was. The waves moved slowly across the ocean, hitting the shore and driving up the beach. Funny thing was, I couldn't swim. What was I doing at the ocean, on a beach, watching my finances sink lower and lower? I should tell David and Derek, but something about them have always terrified me. Maybe it's because they are huge compared to me. Maybe it's because I can never live up to their example. Maybe it was because I was always the family disappointment. They never said that, but I could see it in their faces every time I played football and missed the ball, and couldn't tackle anyone, or played baseball and couldn't hit the ball or catch it. We won't talk about basketball. So I sat, staring at the ocean I could never enjoy, drinking overpriced coffee, and doing a great job of being depressed. I'm getting pretty good at it. I packed up the laptop and walked over to the bartender and handed him my debit card. I was supposed to meet Ilya later, but I'm not up for it. Why don't you tell me about it, Daniel? He shouldn't have said that, because it let the floodgates open. That's what my dad always says. I tear up and squeeze my eyes shut. Somehow I force my eyes open, but something trickles down my cheek. I stared at the palm frond ceiling, and for the first time since this disaster had started, I cried. Total stranger, totally strange hotel, totally strange island, totally strange life, and I sobbed. My life had completely fallen apart, and I felt miserable. Somehow he was beside me, and led me to a stool. I folded my arms on the counter and put my head down. Coffee's on the house today.